47 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry, Tranche 2, Phase 2. Today is the fourth day of hearings for HN1, the former undercover police officer who used the cover name Matt Rayner. It's a kind of a strange day. We've had about 45 minutes of open hearing, and now things have gone into closed. I'm joined by Claire Hildreth, who gave evidence back in October, was it? November? December. Who knew HN1 when he was deployed as Matt Rayner. What have you made of his evidence so far this morning?
I think somebody put something on Twitter that said he was like a worm on a hot plate, which was pretty accurate, really. He's digging himself a hole, and she's just pouring the earth on him. Yeah, he just keeps denying things, and then he almost gets to the point of admitting them, and then he quickly denies them again.
I mean, he started off arguing with his own report, which was really weird. I mean, basically, we were shown one of his reports where he talks about how Jeff Shepherd had gathered around him 5 other activists to sort of start this ALF cell. And then he just denied, said, "Oh no, that's not what I meant. What I meant was something. There was so much more nuance. That wouldn't have been the word I chose, but it is his report in his name." And it was just really surreal. Just the way, he carried on the same form for the entire time, but he just started on such a strange foot.
Yeah, he did. And she did put it to him that it was him that was gathering people around him. I don't think he liked that. He was getting a bit cross with her, I thought, at various points. And in that, even in that short amount of time, you could tell he was getting annoyed. You could tell by the tone of his voice. He's kind of had enough. He said something like, "We've been through this before," or "We've talked quite a lot about this." So you can tell it's kind of getting to him, which is good. I like the way that she keeps going, and she won't let it go. And quite rightly so, because she's, it's obvious what's happened. It's obvious that he's been driving people around. What he's actually done. Sometimes he's been in place with them, sometimes he hasn't, but he's always been the driver for that group of people. And it didn't wash them denying it. It'd just be better for him if he just said, "That's what I did. I did it." He doesn't have to even say he's done it. He's been inciting people. But he's been facilitating actions, hasn't he? It's clear to me, to anybody.
Yeah, it's very clear. He was quite adamant, quite tetchy, and he was going, "I've thought about this a lot, and I'm sure that I never crossed the line, that I struck the right balance." He's so full of himself. I was expecting him to say that he couldn't sweat and that that he was a Pizza Express at the time, because yeah, because you compare, just his whole manner is just like, "How dare you question me about this? I've told you that I didn't do it." Well, what's interesting is a lot of the stuff, quite serious, allegations of criminality by himself, and he just says, "I can't recall. I don't remember any of the late night stuff with Jeff." His outright definitive no's about particular things, like he said, I definitively know I have never entered a shop through a broken window. But when it came to driving people to take part in direct action, he just says, "I don't remember it being pre-planned," and this sort of thing.
Yeah, he says it's like it been an overspill from a demo. But then he's kind of admitted it as well, hasn't he? Yeah. I think. Yeah. He's just, he's crumbling, I think. He's not, you can tell, even through just an audio, you can tell when somebody's lying. And even if you didn't know he was lying, because we know he's not lying, you can kind of tell by the way he's talking, I think. It'd be probably much more clear if we could see him.
It would be, yeah. It is just audio, which is always frustrating. I really noticed, obviously this is the fourth day we've heard from him. There was 3 days back in January, and the very beginning when he's giving evidence, his vocabulary and his accent are particularly posh. He never misses an opportunity to use a more complex word if he's able to. But as I remember, after 3 days of questioning before, that really broke down. So what we've seen today is him back on his perceived pronunciation, giving his very particular sort of use of language, lots of long words. But I'm sure that will break down as the next 2 days go on.
Yeah, I think he's trying to do that. I'm an intellectual thing because he's, a pillar of the establishment. But he is, as time goes on, he starts speaking more like how he used to speak back then. So he didn't sound that posh back in the day. He sounded much kind of more normal. But it's that's his, he can't keep it up. But he does lots of superfluous language and talking about nuance a lot. And but he uses words when there's no point to them. He just needs to stick to the facts, but he doesn't seem to. And to me, that's because he's lying. He's trying to cover up, so he's coming out with more, I don't know, just making sentences more complicated than they need to be, but actually it doesn't make a lot of sense what he's saying. It's just, he's full of it.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, over-gilding the lily would be an understatement. And there's been a few times where he said, he was asked, was he involved in something? No, not personally at that stage. And these sort of things.
Or not on that occasion, or not with Jeff, or so he's implying that he's even, admitting subconsciously that he's done other things with other people. I don't know why. It's none of it is even like that massive. So I don't know why deny the small things. I suppose he's got this thing about he's going to deny everything. So when it comes to more serious things, he's going to deny them as well. But it makes him look less. It's less credulous because if he said, okay, well, drove a few people to smash a few butcher shop windows because that was I needed to do that from a cover, but then deny, I don't know, making incendiary devices. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't know who's coached him, but I'm not sure it's working very well.
No, I agree entirely. I think it's not working particularly well at all. Again, because it's just the audio, you don't really get to see how much he's squirming, but it really feels like he is squirming a lot of the time. We've heard a lot. A lot of people. We've heard a lot of these undercover officers and other people like Alison have like kind of pointed out. They're not. There's these different layers. There's the lies they've told their bosses. There's the lies they've told people they infiltrated. But there's the lies they've told family members and friends over the years. And it's those often that they've got the most kind of investment in.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. There's like a massive web of lies that they're entangled in, and they have to keep lying because they think, well, can't come clean now because they've invested so much in this like version of events and version of themselves in it, but that's not I'd like to see one of them come clean. I don't know if Peter Francis will eventually, so actually talk the truth about what they did and what happened on, because it's meant to be a public inquiry as well, and it's like, well, we kind of know what they're talking about in there now, but we're not allowed to even hear it. So it's not very public, is it?
It's not very public. It's not very public at all. It is very frustrating. I'm not sure why so much of today is enclosed.
They've not made that clear. They've just said, this is what's happening. Suck it up, plebs. That's how it sounded to me when I saw that email, and I just thought, for God's sake, what is that? What is it in the interest of national security? What the fuck is it? Who is this guy? I think we need to know.
Absolutely. I mean, I think particularly given the assurances that the chair made at the start of this process that any undercover officer who was proven to have had deceptive sexual relationships as part of their deployment would be named at the very least to the women that were deceived. That turned out not to be true. He's rolled back on that. He's not naming HN1, not even to Liz Fuller, who HN1 admits to have having deceived into a sexual relationship. You can't take the word of anybody in this process, not even the chair, who is supposedly a man of honour, he claims. I mean, it's just utter nonsense.
Yeah, and I think when he gave his evidence before and he got the opportunity to talk to Liz, even if she wasn't going to get his name, he could have apologised and they could have had a chat, and he refused that. And I don't think he's offered that again. And that was an opportunity to have a bit of dignity in all this, and I think he doesn't have that. He didn't want to speak to her, and that says a lot about him as a man, I believe.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, it's his embarrassment, his shame. They're there for all to see. But I mean, I think his main concern is what will the chaps down the golf club think of him if he was to admit that he was going around breaking windows. I mean, essentially, that seems to be his more pressing concern.
He's probably got a Pringle sweater like Mark Kennedy. He's just not got the wonky eye to go with it. No checks like Alan Partridge, he crossed with Matt Rayner. It's like, yeah, he probably does play golf in Surrey or wherever they play golf. Cricket. Maybe. It's all a social scene of wankers, isn't it? That he's got to keep up with them all.
It must be said with his like the accent that some people have suggested he might be putting on, because it does break. It's really hard not to imagine him in your mind's eye as the most unbearable sort of posh knob going, really.
Yeah, or he's trying to be posher than he actually is, because that's what he wants to be. I don't know. Who knows?
Or he thinks it'll play well with the chair, possibly.
Because the chair's naturally posh. I don't think I don't know if he could have kept it up that long back in the day. You know what I mean? I don't know. It's quite hard to sort of change your voice and keep that going. So maybe if you do it for long enough, he didn't need to go home and be posh to talk poshly to his wife. I don't know. I don't think he's not posh like Mitting is. I don't think so. I think he's a little bit more normal, but we don't. I'm just guessing, aren't I? Piano scholarship, is it real? Possibly. He didn't mention that to anyone else, I don't think, other than Liz, so we didn't get him to try and play the piano in the pub or anything.
I mean, just on that, I mean, like his, do you recognise anything of him in his voice from the man that you knew all those years ago?
No, I don't. I mean, it's hard because I can't see him, but it seems like a different person, which is, I don't know if it's helpful to me. I don't think so. It's odd. I don't know if I met him and spoke to him, would it be, or I could see him, it would be more real. It seems like, especially with the big wall that they've built and the all the procedure, all the measures that are in place to protect him, it creates more sort of, makes it just a bit, can't quite accept it's the same person, and it is and it isn't. You know what I mean? It's strange.
It continues to be very weird at the Undercover Policing Inquiry. Supposedly, there might be a section open before the end of the day, so we're going to stick around or near the inquiry venue in case we can come back. But as it stands, he is being questioned. We know not what about. It certainly isn't. This isn't enclosed because of any of the concerns about members of the public. Those are covered by reporting restriction orders, and it's why the 45 minutes we heard earlier wasn't broadcast on YouTube. Was because there was things mentioned within it that members of the public who are named don't wish to be made public. So it's not about that. It'll be something else. But yeah, it is very unclear what it's about. But yeah, hopefully we'll be able to come back at some point. Is there anything you want to add?
No, thanks.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for watching us. I'll do another video if we get a chance later on today. I'll do some sort of update. If I do a Twitter Spaces later, I will do a Twitter Spaces later. It might be incredibly short. If anybody's got any questions, I'll stay on Twitter and everything, so you can get in contact. Thanks for joining.